Now that I know what I want, now that I have this mentor who gave me this book, he's helping me, he's given me a different perspective of life, what next? And this is what led me to what I now call the circle of growth. Now, the circle of growth is literally what my book is about. It's about achieving self-mastery, because I believe there's 5 tenets to self-mastery, and it all has to do with health. But it's not just the health that you might be thinking of. It's not just your physical body, right? We're talking about your emotional health. We're talking about your physical health. We're talking about your relationships, your spirituality, and your finances. Okay, so I had to make changes in every single one of these areas, but I didn't start by focusing on each of these different areas of life. I had to ask myself the question, what area of life, by focusing on it and making progress in it, will create the most momentum and the most progress for me? In other words, how can I put the least amount of effort in, yet get the greatest result? I've always been about efficiency, getting more done with less time. So I evaluated my life, and the first step, the first place where I began, and this is chapter 1 of my book called Be Extraordinary, is I had to start working on my thoughts. I had to start working on my emotional health, because I was a guy who would gossip all the time. I was a guy who would think thoughts of, well, how am I going to pay the bills this month? Right? I brought in this big paycheck, but now I got to pay this big car payment. I got to pay all the utilities. I got to pay the rent, the cell phone bill. So I used to always live in a place of scarcity, a place of there's not enough resources, a place of other people are out to get me, a place of other people don't want to take my advice. I used to live from a very low vibration, emotional state of mind. And the first place I had to start was with my emotions. And when it comes to your emotions, let me ask you this in a way that might make it more sense. I want you to think of your mind as a thought factory, okay? And there's 2 parts to this factory that are led by 2 very different supervisors, right? The first supervisor's name is Mr. Triumph. He houses workers that think positive thoughts. Mr. Triumph spends his time around people who say things like, I can do this. I can achieve whatever it is that I want. I just have to put my mind to it and take the actions that lead to it. And I know it will materialize in my life. And then you've got the other supervisor on the other side of the factory, and his name is Mr. Defeat, right? I was hanging out with Mr. Defeat. I was hanging out with thoughts of lack, with thoughts of scarcity. I was hanging out with thoughts of disempowerment, thoughts that brought me down, thoughts of being overweight, thoughts of being in debt, thoughts of not knowing how I was going to pay the bills that month. My emotional health was way out of check. And if your emotions aren't in check, are you going to be able to have great relationships? Probably not. You're going to find people who share the same emotional health as you because they bring you comfort, they bring you certainty. If you don't have your emotions in check, are you going to be able to practice a strong spiritual practice? Are you going to be able to have strong finances? Is your body going to be in shape if your emotional health is off? The answer is maybe, but it's not likely. So the first place I had to start, and this is going to be different for everybody, is with my emotions. But what I want to ask you is, I want you to take a gauge on your life right now, and I want you to be very honest with yourself, and I want you to be very objective, because that's the point of you watching this. I want you to think to yourself right now, out of these 5 key areas, my emotions, my physical body and my physical health, my relationships, my spirituality, my finances, I want you to look at this pie chart here. And I want you to ask yourself, which of these areas is holding me back the most? For me, it was kind of all of them. But there's one of these areas that by focusing on it mostly, you'll make fast progress in all of the other areas. So which area is it for you that will get you the greatest result by placing just a little bit of focus on it and a little bit of intentionality? So the way that my journey went was I started to focus on my thoughts. I read The Secret. I started practicing The Secret. I started to understand the law of attraction, and I started to be more conscious and more aware of my thoughts. And that's what led me to the second area of life. That's what led me to start focusing on my physical body. And I kind of did these things together, but if you break it down, I really started with my emotions, which then led to my physical body. Once I started working out, once I started getting my physical body in shape, that's when everything changed for me. Because when I started going to the gym with my mentor, when I started to work out, when I started to be more conscious of the food choices that I was putting into my body, I started to pay my debts off naturally. It built confidence in me. It built belief that if I can get a result in this one area of life, then what's stopping me from getting a powerful result in the other areas of life as well? Going to the gym helped me with my emotions. It helped me meet new friends who also valued similar things that the new Brandon also valued. I started joining clubs like Toastmasters and the National Speakers Association, and I started hanging around other people who wanted more from their life. Because beforehand, I was hanging out with people who were just like me. No goals, no direction. They weren't sure what they wanted. Now, when it comes to your relationships, it's important to know and really not just intellectually know it, but emotionally comprehend this and practice this. When it comes to your relationships, you are the 3 to 5 people that you spend the most time around. So are you spending time around people who want more from their life? Are you spending time around people who make you feel good when you're in their presence and after you leave their presence? What types of people are you spending time around? And then ask yourself, what's their income? What is their overall level of joy, their overall level of happiness? What kind of goals do they have, right? What is their ambition for life, or maybe their lack of ambition? And it's really important to internalize this because you will become those people that you spend time around. So there's a stat out there actually, and I don't know the exact percentages because I'm giving this to you off the top of my mind here, but there's a stat that says if your friend is a smoker, you're like 60% more likely to pick up a cigarette and smoke, or whatever they're smoking, right? But it's crazy because if your friend isn't a smoker, but your friend's friend is a smoker, then you're actually 30% more likely to smoke, even if you don't know your friend's friend. So if this doesn't tell you anything except how powerful your social circle is and its influence on your own actions and behavior, then I don't know what will. So remember, you are the 3 to 5 people you're spending the most time around. The people that you're building relationships with and spending your energy with, be very conscious of that, no matter what it is you want to achieve, no matter what it is you want to go after, because it is influencing your behavior. Jacob Craig says, I found educating myself on any area of personal development has led me to living a much more positive life in general. Hell yeah, man. Learn to love the constant improvement process. We're all a work in progress. Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head there, brother. It's literally that feeling of joy that you just mentioned, that feeling of positivity and love, that comes from making progress. Like, I've never felt more on top of the world, and that's because I'm doing things, right? Every day I'm doing one thing that leads me in the direction of my goals, but we're going to talk about the whole achievement process in another video. But right now, all I want you to do is get a really good idea of where you are now in your own life. Because your goals and what you want to achieve, those are very important. But what's even more important is you get a very honest look about where you are now in your life. And I would even challenge you to write down where you currently are in your life. Write down how your emotions are, your physical body, your relationships, your spirituality, and your finances. And right now, all I want you to know and all I want you to decide on is which of these areas of life are you going to focus on first? Which of these 5 key areas will make the most drastic improvement in your life?